the voice of Rabbi Randy. Obviously, I'm not on the screen yet. I wanted to start with this picture. So just take a second and check it out. You don't have to kind of memorize the letter that's on the screen behind the speaker, but just kind of picture the scene, because that's what I'm going to talk about. Here I am in my office at CRC. The picture is of a speaker who was the speaker at the ceremony that I talked about yesterday in the Omer video, the ceremony that took place on Thursday, where I, along with my classmates, who we were all ordained as rabbis back in the year 2000, we were all brought back to New York on our 25th anniversary of being rabbis, of being ordained, and we received an honorary doctorate. So the speaker, I'll go back to her for a second, her name is Linda Mills, and Linda Mills is the president, the current president of New York University. And she was asked to be the main speaker at the ceremony, and she also received an honorary doctorate, as befitting a speaker at such an event. I believe the reason she was asked to speak is because of the relationship between New York University and Hebrew Union College, the Reform Movement's seminary. All the Reform rabbis, pretty much, Rabbi Susan, Rabbi Jim, Rabbi Daniel, Rabbi Karen, myself, all went to Hebrew Union College at one of the 3 stateside campuses, New York, Cincinnati, Los Angeles. But at the New York campus, where I went to, it's really like right there in the midst of NYU. It's like right there. Wonderful neighborhood in the East Village, if you guys know where NYU is. For me, it was a great place to go to school. I could leave the seminary after studying Talmud and all that and walk 1 block to Tower Records, to Broadway. And on the other way was the Bottom Line, which was an awesome music venue, live music. Neither place, Tower Records nor Bottom Line, exist anymore, but that's another story. But because of our proximity, NYU and HUC have a great relationship. Unfortunately, it's about to end a little bit, geographically speaking, because HUC is moving uptown. But again, that's another story as well. So I will say that the main connection I had with the relationship between NYU and HUC was the soup kitchen. Rabbinical students, including myself, every single Monday served a hot meal to anyone that showed up, mostly homeless folks who spent their days in Washington Square Park and their nights at shelters. And so we had this wonderful program serving a hot meal. A cantorial student would play piano to give it a restaurant quality. And then law students from NYU would come and give legal advice to people that needed it. And dental students from NYU would come and do checkups and refer people who had serious dental issues. So it was, I think, very meaningful to have the president of NYU speak. And she did. You can imagine all the different topics a college president these days would have to talk about to a group of rabbis. But she chose to get really personal. And she told a very powerful story that I feel like I just want to recount to you. It made an impact on me. So she started her story when she was 13. Dr. Mills was 13, and it was a picture of her bat mitzvah with the rabbi at her side. And she started by saying that this rabbi was incredibly encouraging to her, and said some things to her that were really memorable, and obviously a great way to start a speech to a group of rabbis. But this rabbi will come back at the end of Linda Mills' story. But after she showed that slide, she went back in time to her grandparents, who were in Nazi Europe in the mid to late 30s, at a time, obviously, when things were horrible, as it was for Jews, about to get worse. And the grandma was trying to figure out a way to save her family. And what she did was she knew that she had a relative who she'd never met in California. She had an address, and she wrote him a letter, seeing if there was any way this relative could help. And in fact, the letter reached the relative, who happened to be a high-powered entertainment business lawyer in Los Angeles. and he went to work to help his family, these people he'd never met and who had never met him. And he did. He was able to get out of Europe in time Linda's mom, and dad and Linda's siblings, and they came to California. Unfortunately, Linda's grandparents did not leave with their family. Wasn't clear whether they couldn't or they didn't, but in any event, the grandma who kind of got all this into motion um, horrifically perished in a concentration camp. The grandfather had a better ending. He apparently escaped from a train that was bound for Auschwitz, got himself to a place of safety, and got to America and rejoined his family in California. So that already is a obviously a heartwarming story of survival, etc. But there's more to the story, because Linda Mills, besides being a social worker and an academic and eventually a college president, is also a filmmaker. She actually made, I just learned this in getting to know her, she made a movie about an unlikely friendship between an Orthodox rabbi and an imam, a Muslim imam, which hopefully I'll get to see. But she also made a movie about her story, this story that I just told you that she told us. And during research for the story, she came across a ceremony at Hebrew Union College in Los Angeles, because there's 3 stateside campuses. And at this point, the lawyer that had saved her mother and vis-a-vis her, the lawyer was being honored at the end of his career. He had passed since, but at this point, it was the end of his career, and he was being honored at no less than the graduation ceremony, where rabbis who had been serving for 25 years at that time were being honored with their doctorates. And he received an honorary doctorate, the lawyer, the same one that Linda received on Thursday, which is an incredible happenstance. That they share this this honor. But there was one more twist, and she really did bring it back beautifully to the rabbi and the rabbis. She showed us the documents when she saw this whole this ceremony with the lawyer, her relative. The rabbi who gave the invocation for that same ceremony was none other than her childhood rabbi, who bat mitzvahed her, who she had such warm memories of. So I just thought the whole thing was sort of blew my mind. She did a great job telling the story, probably better than I did. I know for sure better than I did. And we gave her a standing ovation, and people were very emotional, and it was really wonderful. So now you know the story, and I hope it was a good nighttime inspirational moment before we count the Omer. This day of the Omer, this week of the Omer, is Netzach, meaning endurance, and the quality that's intersecting today or tomorrow, the 24th day of the Omer, with and Netzach is Tiferet, which means glory or beauty. So, I mean, endurance, survival. That's what the story I just told and what Linda told is all about. And sometimes survival stories like that are just adorned and glorious and beautiful. And so it seemed like now the perfect story to tell on the 24th day of the Omer. It's already nighttime as I record this, where Tiferet, beauty, intersects with Netzach, endurance. So I'm going to make the blessing and count the Omer with you. Be back tomorrow. Also on location tomorrow, but that's just a teaser. You'll have to tune in and see what's going on. But here is the bracha for the ritual of counting the Omer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sefirat haomer. Blessed is the Holy One whose presence fills creation, the source of mitzvahs, sacred deeds that fill our lives with meaning and purpose and dignity, including this ritual of counting the days of the Omer from Passover to Shavuot, this now being the 24th day, almost halfway to Shavuot. And with that, I'm going to sign off. Laila Tov. Have a good night. Thanks for hanging out with me.